get started with our regular council meeting, October 11th, 2018. If everyone would please stand and join me in the invocation of pledge to the flag. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for the many blessings that you've given to us. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together, to make decisions on behalf of our community. Lord, give us wisdom and guidance, and everything we say and do be in accord with your will. Lord, we want to say a special prayer tonight for everyone impacted by the hurricane. Lord, we just pray that you would provide mercy and comfort to those who are bereaved, to those who have lost family, who have lost friends, who have lost property. Lord, we just pray that, again, you would touch them in a very special way. Lord, again, we just look to you tonight as we make decisions and as we discuss the city's future. We pray that everything said and done would be honored and glorified you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could have the roll call, please.
Mayor Lambert,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stoll, Councilmember Cagle.
Here.
Councilmember Elton. Here. Councilmember Williams.
Here.
City Manager Miller.
Here.
City Attorney Litch.
Here. I'm going to move down here to the front for just a minute. All right. I don't know how many of you were here 10 years ago, but about 10 years ago, a proclamation was made by then Mayor Mike Steele in regard to a very special citizen that we have here in the city of East Ridge. And I very much appreciate this individual, and so I wanted to simply reiterate that proclamation. And so I'm going to read it, and then I would like this individual to come forward. City of East Ridge, proclamation of Larry Clark Day. Whereas Mr. Larry Clark, along with his wife, have been lifelong residents of the city of East Ridge, Tennessee, and whereas Mr. and Mrs. Clark, after graduating East Ridge High School, raised their family in the city of East Ridge, and whereas Mr. Clark began his involvement with the Tennessee River Rescue when a group of local environmentalists, disgusted by the trash lining the Tennessee River and its tributaries, started a grassroots effort to make a difference in the Tennessee Valley. And whereas 2018 marks the 30th anniversary of the Tennessee River Rescue, plus the 30th year that Mr. Clark has served as coordinator of the event, first in Marion County and then in East Ridge, cleaning up the Chickamauga Creek and Spring Creek areas. Whereas, thanks to the efforts of Mr. Clark and his wife and his dedicated group of volunteers, the Tennessee River Rescue has managed to collect an average of more than 8 cubic yards of trash every year. Now therefore I, Brent Lambert, Mayor of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, do hereby reiterate that the first Saturday in October has been proclaimed forevermore as Larry Clark Day in the city of East Ridge, and encourage all citizens to volunteer for the annual Tennessee River Rescue as a way to honor Larry Clark's contributions to the community. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and the official seal of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, on this, the 11th day of October, 2018. So welcome. Now, I would like for his family to come up here if they would, if they don't mind, and we'll get a couple of pictures. Okay. Let's slide this way. Yes, sir, please do.
I appreciate so much the City of East Ridge and the council members that through the years have approved support for this effort. East Ridge has been doing this since the early 1990s, and you all have always come through, and we couldn't do as good a job here in East Ridge without the support of the city. The Public Works, sanitation, the fire, and police, and you council members, all that you, and I think you all come out at one time or another and helped us remove trash from Spring Creek. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this honor. And the over 700 volunteers through the years that we've been working on Spring Creek, we've had 700 volunteers that have come and helped that. And the East Ridge High School ROTC has been great. Boy Scout Troop number 74. We've got a lot of regulars that come out every year. And this year, usually we deal with mosquitoes and are able to work through it, but this year it was not possible. There were so many floodwater mosquitoes there on Spring Creek that after about an hour and a half, we couldn't put the volunteers through any more mosquito bites. And so we ended the river rescue after an hour and a half, but our volunteers were able to get 450 pounds of trash, and we were able to get 8 tires out of the Spring Creek in that hour and a half's time. And so we didn't waste it. We had 76 volunteers. We could have gotten a lot more out, but the mosquitoes had other plans. So, but thank you so much for your support through the years and for honoring me and my family this month. Thank you.
You are certainly welcome and most deserving. And we appreciate you and your family for all that you've done. My favorite river rescue story was, of course, we found tires and grocery carts and everything else out there, but I think my favorite find, this may have been 2010 or something, 2011 maybe, we found a wooden cutout of Santa Claus. And we found Santa Claus in the creek, so it just shows you a little bit of everything is down there. And so it's been amazing to see how much stuff has been pulled out of the creek. And a lot of us wonder sometimes, why doesn't this happen or why doesn't that happen? Why can't this certain thing take place in East Ridge? well, sometimes it lacks a spearhead. And Mr. Clark, you've been a spearhead for this effort, and if not for you, I am quite sure it would not have been as successful as it has been. So thank you very much. All right, council, I trust everyone has had opportunity to review the items in the consent agenda. That would be the minutes of the September 27th agenda work session, as well as the minutes of the September 27th regular council meeting. There's also a declaration of surplus property.
Ordinance 1083, no, 1082, needs a correction. The vote's not unanimous, it was 4-1. And I believe that was on the beer.
Page 3. I noticed that as well. Page 3.
Yeah, ordinance 1082, so.
There it is. Gotcha. All right, so we will entertain a motion to approve as corrected. And that is page 3 of the regular meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve with the correction. We have a second. There's your second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton. Yes. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. That item is approved. This time we will entertain communication from citizens. We do have one who has signed in. That would be Mr. Earl Wilson, representing the East Region Needy Child Fund.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank all the people that have helped put this together. There's been a lot of hard work, effort put into this. It's nice to see East Ridge coming together as a community again. It's something that has been a mess for some time. And there's just a new spirit, a new life here. But this coming Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will have Pioneer Fest, the first, hopefully many to come. We've had a lot of good response from the various businesses in Chattanooga and some in East Ridge, or multiple ones in East Ridge also. So we're going to have games, churches are going to be there. Each one of the candidates that's running is going to have tents and booths and opportunity for everyone that has questions or any issues that you would like to address before the election comes up. This gives you an opportunity to go one-on-one, face-to-face with the various candidates. And we're going to have Dennis Massengill that will be the MC of the event. We're going to have live entertainment. Shani Head and Summer Hullinger, Tim Lewis, Laura Walker, and then just face painting, children's tattoos, bean bags, Crown Produce is going to be furnishing some pumpkins and things like that. So there's going to be a dump tank there. Hopefully the weather will not be too chilly for everybody, but we're looking forward to that. And as I said, it will start at 10 o'clock, go to 3 o'clock. And if any of you that have access to Facebook, any social media, things like that, would you please share this and make sure that everyone around knows? We'd like the people from Fort Oglethorpe, anywhere to come just to see what East Ridge is doing. And I know there's been some outlying cities that have noticed the change that East Ridge is making and trying to move forward and progress. And they're kind of envious of us in some ways. So I think this is a great opportunity for our city to shine, move forward. And I would like to thank everybody in here, especially the council, for helping us with this. And let's just move forward and have a great time Saturday. If anybody wants one of these flyers, you know, and I'll see that you get it. We'll look forward to seeing everybody Saturday morning.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
So I guess this is more of a question or a clarification. I know that most of us, me included, candidates have petitioned the booth there at Pioneer Fest. But I have a question concerning our sign ordinance, which prevents signage from being placed on city property other than specific polling locations during election day. Is that something that can or will be waived, or will we just have to abide by the ordinance that was passed, ordinance 1016? Just want to try to get some clarifications prior to the event.
I've not seen the ordinance, but my understanding is it says if it's on city property, unless they have got it.
The variance provision.
Yeah,
Not trying to be dapper on it, but just wanted clarification.
pretty clear here, no political signs shall be placed on city property except for following circumstances or exceptions. Polling, and they must be removed or for a lottery. And arguably, the council can, once, I guess, be pretty quick after that, make an ordinance amendment. There's nothing in the ordinance that provides it. If you walk away enforcement of it, but you might be setting a precedent at that point as well. So, just ordinance 1016 is clear on its face. It's got one exception, and that's polling, and that's it.
Reference has done already been said. Several years back, we had the same thing, because I had a kid down there with my name all over it.
This was done in 2016. This ordinance is 2016.
I think that was prior to your event.
That was in
After-
2015 Liberty Fest.
Yeah, that was the Liberty Fest. This was adopted sometime after June of 2016. This came after your event.
And we're saying no signs down there during the Pioneer Fest.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, we can certainly add this to the agenda, revision of the ordinance. And it would have to be first reading tonight, second reading the next meeting.
No, it's this weekend.
It's this weekend.
Yeah, that's true. So there's there is nothing we can do. However, I did mention this to the city manager in the back. It does say that signs can't be posted on city property. It doesn't say they can't be in the bed of a pickup truck or a sign on the side of, magnetic sign on the side of a car, or if you have a tent, a sign that hangs from your tent. It just says they can't be posted on city property. My interpretation of that would be, you can't stick a sign in the ground or affix it to a telephone pole or something else in Camp George Park. That's just me. Are you skirting the?
I ain't saying it is.
Are you skirting the intent of the ordinance, maybe? But if you want to, if you want a quick fix, that's the only quick fix we got.
All right. On your behalf, city property is the pavilion, so you will be allowed to put anything on the pavilion.
That's correct.
Now, this is on your behalf.
That's correct.
That's right, so.
Fine, I brought it up, I want
Yeah.
clarification. I want to make sure it was done right.
And what you can do, you got a pop-up tent, put it out beside the pavilion, plaster pop-up tent with signs.
But then might as well get paid, it's not $50 for that, pavilion, it's not going to be benefit.
But if he has the event and, people come in and sit, eat, and whatever, then it can still be made useful without having signs on it. That's about all I got, guys.
I just want clarification about prior to the event.
Sandwich signs, eh?
They don't have no golf shoes on, spikes go in the ground and be stuck in the ground.
So, and really.
It's all about the kids.
It's not gonna help, it's not, obviously not gonna help for this weekend, but we could put it on the agenda for next time.
Can we make a resolution, pass it tonight?
Can't do a resolution to undo an ordinance.
Can you do a variance?
They'll have to have 2 readings. So, anyway,
Can I ask one question?
Yes, yes.
Are you gonna have something on the donation box in case people want to bring unwrapped gifts for Christmas?
They've not mentioned that, but I'll be glad to bring it up and make sure that they have something, because we have access to some big boxes and things like that. Is there any way that we could approach a variance tonight, since this is for East Ridge and it's a one, I mean, this is the first one? I mean,
I'm reading what was handed to me right here, and if I'm reading the face of it, and I've got to stick to it, it's got one exception, and that's 24 hours in advance of an election date. It's the only one. You know, if you could get technical and say it doesn't define what the election is, you could have some election out there or something. I mean, you could have an election that.
it was the Pioneer Fest King and Queen.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Wilson, and if I'm just reading just this, there is not a variance allowed. My advice would be that the city chose to ignore it. It could do so, but again, you're setting a precedent that if you're going to ignore this, or you're going to ignore other stuff, and it's sort of a dangerous slope there. I would agree with the mayor that you could put signs up on a table, you could hang them from a tent, you could have a guy spinning it like the pizza guy at Little Caesars. You've got other options. But if I read it the way in which I do on the face of it, it says that no political sign shall be placed on city property, subject to the following exceptions and restrictions. There's nothing that allows in a variance, generally you have for a land use variance. I know I'm sounding like a stickler here, but that's just what it is. Read the ordinance. Mr. Customer has something else to add.
The language in that ordinance should probably mimic the language in the sign ordinance as it relates to special events. Because obviously the sign ordinance, when you have special events in the park, those signs, 90% of the time doesn't meet the criteria of the sign ordinance because it's a special event. So the language has changed. It should be changed to meet the same type of standard that's already adopted in the current sign ordinance. Citywide.
I would agree. So we can look at this now too. It's going to be done by Saturday. Actually, I take this back. It does even say it says primary, general, or special election. So I don't guess we can have an election for a King Point. So chose. It's pretty specific.
Get creative, folks. All right, do we have another?
One clarification.
Yes, sir. Come to the microphone if you will.
My name's Dave Manning, 910 Sunnydale Circle, East Ridge. On the right election, I want to verify this, find out if I'm right or wrong. It's 24 hours before election, you put signs up front. According to what he read, you can't do that. Well, I understood it.
No, I'll just read it. I'll start with the exception of political signs may be placed on city property designated as official poll locations for a primary, general, or special election no more than 24 hours in advance of the election day.
Okay. This down here will be because we got early voting on Wednesday. That way down there will be a special event too. For the signs to be put up because it's going to be a special for the election. And they won't be up for 24 hours for that. But why can't we put them up down there? That's city property too, ain't it?
But the ordinance is saying that
24 hours before early vote.
No, 24 hours before the election.
election, right?
Uh,
I didn't want to mean before election.
Right. And even if you interpreted it as loosely as possible and said it is early, you could do it 24 hours ahead of early voting. There's not a polling location there, but also it would be more than 24 hours between the event Saturday and the actual early voting opening.
When will we notify for now? Because it's benefits coming to the kids, and we're all gonna be there, and I'm gonna support our kids, I always do, and I always will. They charge us to put tables up in there.
Yeah, you can put a sign on that tables, but, I mean, that's the way it sounds like this council wants to choose to interpret it, is if you want
But what I understand, you keep putting those signs around your table, stick it in the ground.
to place it on the city property is what it's being interpreted as.
That's what I was trying to get asked you. Why weren't we told before this? Nobody knows, I don't think, Brian, did you know about it?
No, I actually thought of it just this week, and that's why I went and asked questions and then got the ordinance and brought it before council today. I mean, if I realized this a month ago, I would have brought it up then. We might could have changed an ordinance or something, but I just thought of it.
Well, I'm not blaming you, I'm just asking, did you know it?
No.
Well, I didn't think that, this first time I heard
I
it.
mean, I'm the one that's going to be penalized more than anyone, because that's the pavilion. So if you get anything wrong with the pavilion,
Well, they've always, every time they have stuff done, they do it.
well, it's not political sign.
I know, might well be a lot of politics you know from that. All right, thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. All right. Do we have another? All right, I see none. We will move on to communications with council members. Mr. Cagle, do you have anything?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
I noticed in the surplus thing, we got a $199 Crown Vic that says inoperable, and the other 99 Crown Vic, it doesn't say anything about it, so is it drivable, usable, or?
Kenny, you want to address those were two next code enforcement vehicles?
Yeah, one is completely inoperable, and the other one needed $2,500 worth of repairs.
Okay. Are both Nissan trucks being driven every day?
Yes, they're in use.
Yep.
How about
We've got one
how
Crown
about the
Vic.
Ford pickup?
Yes,
The one that's parked out in the back?
Yes.
Driven every day? So you all have no extra vehicle?
we have one.
What is it?
It's a 2000 and some odd Crown Vic that was, it's the best Crown Vic that we had. It was in good shape. And actually loaned it to Animal Services, since we didn't need it right now because they've had two vehicles in the shop, one that wouldn't pass emissions, and it's had 287,000 miles.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Cagle?
Well, this was kind of leading up to, as many cars as I see sitting around, why are we paying our new partner in a car allowance to drive his personal car backwards and forth in a job? Because the green car sits down at the park, it sits down there, it's never,
The green card is used by,
she don't drive it home,
Shauna.
so it won't fit the driveway.
Well, whenever she drives that car around the city, the only reason why we gave the Park and Recreation Director a car allowance, I authorized that instead of having a new vehicle for him. When I leave here in 2 weeks, my car is going to go to him. And the council can decide what you want to do with the new city manager. That's the reason that I was behind this. There's no reason why my car's going to be sitting vacant out there. I'm going to give that over to the Park and Recreation Director the 27th of the month.
Okay, so when is the new truck we've got ordered coming in from Murfreesboro? We'll find out about that. You know,
Which,
the ones that's supposed to be coming in from Murfreesboro, Ford, the new truck we ordered from Parks and Rec here 5, 6, 8 weeks ago.
they've been contacting them.
Yeah, it'll be here the 29th.
29th of the month.
Okay. So that'd be after.
I mean, the council can decide whether you have to hire the new city manager, whether you want to get that individual a car, whether you want to put them on an auto allowance. It's up to you, that's up to the council. You gave me that choice when I came here, I decided to go with the car.
I just looked at all the cars we got parked around here.
Here you see the 3 Crown Vics pretty much parked out there. 2 of them are going to be gone, and 1 of them's the extra for you. With the
It'll be in use in 2 weeks.
community development, I'm sorry. It will be used starting next week because we're hiring a 3rd. I'm sorry, it's not next week, November 1st. November 1st, we can hire 1 code enforcement officer and 3 firefighters. We put those 4 positions in the FY 18-19 budget, but they weren't to be hired, put on staff until November 1st. So we'll need a car, that extra that they have will be driven by that individual.
Well, I just wondered, all right,
All right. Do you have anything else?
no.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Williams?
No, sir.
Ms. Hill? Do not at the moment. Mr. Miller?
I'm going to defer to Janet Middleton. She has an announcement regarding the lottery.
The lottery for 10 spaces for the election will be held on October 30th at 12 noon here in the council chambers. And I'm in the process of gathering email addresses, phone numbers in order to get in touch with candidates. So if there's any candidates here, make sure I have their email address. Any candidate that does not RSVP will not be included.
Do they have to be present at the drawing?
We've had representatives before that drew for the candidates.
Yes, both times. We've conducted this twice since we adopted this 3 times. I'm sorry. Well, I know twice we had sit-ins. Some people were out of town, and other people just can't take time off from work. We've allowed it in the past. Unless the council wants to add an additional requirement.
Good. Any questions? Could you repeat the date?
October 30th.
All time, good here back here.
October 30th at noon in these chambers. Make sure that Janet has your email communications, your email address, so she can get to the particulars. Okay?
Mr. Miller, do you have?
I have nothing else, that was just one for
I
announcement.
have a question on this lottery. Are they gonna be measuring these 10 foot or 12 foot? Because most everybody's canopies now are 12 foot.
10, is that what we have been doing? 10 by 10, are they now 12 by, are the 10s 12 by 12s?
Majority of them.
Come on, man.
If they're 12 by 12, we can easily make that, just measure it off 12 by 12. If you have a smaller than that, you'll fit. If you have a 12 by 12, if you have a larger one, better make arrangements with your buddy next door to you.
Well, that's, I know mine is 10 by 10 on top, but it's got the slant legs.
I got
Goes
you.
out to-
Yeah, you're right. It's, you gotta go with 12 on the 12 by 12 on the markings.
All right. I do have one item to add under new business. It was something we wanted to add last time and didn't, but we need to tonight. That would be item E, approval of a potential settlement agreement regarding litigation between the city of East Ridge and the outdoor flea market. Yes. That'll be item E under new business, the last item on the agenda. Okay, under old business,
Okay, has that changed since last time?
No.
under old business, item A, ordinance 1082 on second and final reading.
In order for the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee to amend the East Ridge City Code, Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 8-101, titled Definition of Alcoholic Beverages, and Chapter 2, Section 2-206, titled Beer Defined.
Do we have a motion in regard to ordinance 1082? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. This basically would change the definition of beer in our city code to match whatever it is that the state code says. And if that changes going forward, then ours will change right along with it. Do we have any questions or?
Yes, sir. I just don't understand why the city has to comply with the state on something that's gonna raise the alcohol content from 5 to 8%, which is gonna, just make it easier for higher intoxication. I just don't understand why we have to apply to the state on everything, because I've noticed here lately we've been changing a lot of ordinances to match the state. And we don't put them in forward, so that's the question.
Well, I think the answer is we don't have to. That's the simple answer, is we don't have to. And we can vote no and not do it, leave it the way it is. So,
My opinion on this is, state of Tennessee's got their statutes on that. I think that we're controlling this with a special permit. It's being reviewed by city manager and staff to ensure that it is safe. It is designated in certain areas. So, we had the problem with Ducks Unlimited. They had just the beer that was a couple percentages or tenths of percentages over. So I think that we're controlling it. We're not forcing anyone to have a beer if they don't want to. So I'm perfectly fine with adopting the Tennessee State Code for selling beer in the park, especially since it's not wide open. It's under a special permit that we have to approve anyway. And we're controlling the selling locations, and we're having extra police that is monitoring it. So I'm comfortable with it, so I'm saying it.
My objection is when you said it's a 10, well, it's raising it from 5% to 8%.
I was referring to the Ducks Unlimited issue. It was just a few tenths.
But now this right here is going to pass it from 5 to 8%.
But it's nothing that anybody can go buy at the grocery store.
okay. Do we have any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cagle.
No.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Item is approved. Item B, ordinance 1083 on second and final reading.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee to amend ordinance number 1078 entitled An Ordinance to Provide Revenue for the City of East Ridge, Tennessee for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 to June 30, 2019, appropriating the same to the payment of expenses of the municipal government by designating a portion of the unassigned fund balance of the general fund, and by changing the revenues of the general fund, and by changing the expenditures of the general fund.
Okay, do we have a motion in regard to this ordinance?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The minutes, it reads that to purchase this land, we might have to do a bond issue. And conversation I had with Mr. Miller this week, that I didn't understand him wrong, but he said that we did not need to do another bond issue, so we actually couldn't afford it, so.
You know what? To purchase the land, we do not need to do a bond issue or capital over $210,000. However, if we take this further and do a animal control facility, that's going to add a lot more to it. That one would have to go with a capital note. You have, Diane's not here, I'm sorry she's not here, she got a death in the family, she's over in Memphis tonight. We saw that activities, written activities are happening tomorrow. But you've got her memo on her date of October 10th. We have deficit that we're looking at that's come about by the SWAT equipment at $107,252, purchase of the vehicles for CSU, $35,000, van insert for $16,000, land purchase for $210,000. Basically what this ordinance was involved with. We ended up last year with a fund balance of about $5 million. $4 million we have decided within the past year to set as our minimum. Correct? Okay. Now you've got $1 million left, and now we're taking $368,000 out of that. Doesn't leave you a lot of left dollars. So, we can't see depleting that any further than where it is now, unless it is an emergency situation. An emergency situation is what I would define is why you have fund balances, people. Simply Mexico City and St. Joe's is a reason. When I was the city manager in 3 to 4 communities in Florida, our fund balance was set aside into millions of dollars just for the purpose of any anticipation of getting hit by a hurricane. Because you don't get those FEMA dollars until 2 or 3 years later. You don't get those dollars right off the bat. And your line of credit sometimes does not exceed that amount of money. So $368,000 where we are today out of that. So the difference is what we have left. The fund balance. Yes, sir. And to take any more, to deplete that any further, I would suggest not be done.
Well, with that being said, then, the next resolution is something that's going to be tabled tonight, but that's another $350,000. And I'm assuming it's going to have to come out of the.
That's a decision up to the council.
So that's what I'm saying. It's going to have to come out of our reserve. That statement you just made, we don't need to be taking anything else out of our reserve. So,
I would strongly suggest, as you know, and I've been doing fine. I got my start in career back in the 70s, 1970s, as a finance director. So I don't think you should take the fund balance down any further than that. That's my professional opinion. And what the council does is allow it. Yes, it is. But you've got to look at the financial stability of the city in case you do get hit with some kind of a catastrophic event. The $210,000 will be paid back as reimbursement of the Board of Regents. We don't get that money back the following year.
There's dimension.
No, it doesn't work that way. You know, we put in for our reimbursement of Board of Region dollars every year. But we only get back the amount of Board of Region dollars that were generated within the 940-acre district in our city. So if I've got $5 million worth of expenses, the state is not going to give us $5 million because we only generated $2.2 million this past fiscal year, 17-18 fiscal year. And 1.1 went to Exit One LLC and 1.1 went to us. So we will eventually get paid that $210,000 back between now and 2042. That, I'm certain that we will. But it's not going to be 2042. But it's not going to be next year or the year after.
So that 210 is gonna be sitting over here somewhere, waiting on a promissory note to go back and pay.
Well, that's if you do a promissory note. I'm not saying you don't
That's
have.
what I'm calling the Board of Region thing, is a promissory thing between now and 2042.
You know, I don't like, that's not defined, that's not what I define as a promissory note, sir. But, that's, but what I was looking at was the land purchase of $210,000 from the board, from the fund balance. I think it's too low of a cost to be able to do a capital note on. You're looking at probably 3.75%, and that was 6 months ago. You know what the market is today? I mean, mortgages are almost 5% now. In the past month, who knows what's going to happen a month from now? Mortgage rates are going up, your CD rates are going up, your interest free with municipal notes and bonds, that's going up too. So it's not, you really want to get over $1 million or so before you start wanting to take a note, a 10-year capital note, or 15 capital note, or a 20-year bond issue to pay the interest on. $210,000 is, I don't think it's high enough. So it makes sense?
Yeah, I just, it says 210,000 will be submitted for
All right,
reimbursement.
and we'll get reimbursed for that.
That'll be sitting over here on the books for getting these reimbursed.
Which may not take nearly as long as we all think it might.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I mean,
I can tell you
they're
this.
coming down the pipe.
I can tell you that the sales tax, if you read the last TML newsletter that you got, the sales tax for this past fiscal year only came in at 1.7%, where the previous year came in at 6%. That shows an indication of our economy, especially in the state of Tennessee. So we're sitting there looking at 5%, and I'm sitting there looking at the budget, and I'm looking at increasing our sales taxes 5%. Who am I kidding? When it's only gone up 1.6, 1.7% under the state's reported to us.
Here is, you mentioned the 2.2 million. Here's a breakdown that I asked you for the other day, and it says, general fund, 512,000, that brought that down to 1.7 million. And it says, for economic development fund and payment, out of that, brought it down to 590,309. And then, debt service, 536,000, which leaves a balance of 53,374 out of this 2.2 million.
Right.
So if we had paid Marco Pizza and Firehouse Sub, we would have got the balance of the money out of
Not necessarily. Yes, but read that list going down there. How much went to the general fund? $300-some-thousand, correct? For $539,000?
512.
Okay, $512,000 went into the general operating fund from the Board of Region. Okay? The Board of Region dollars aren't to be utilized for just services. They're to be utilized for economic development purposes and tourism purposes. So you can use that money there
paid Marco and Firehouse and them. They would have been a line item here just like, Haven, Texas, what else?
That's true.
All right. But according to what we put in general fund, debt service, that left us $53,000.
Remember, the Board of Regents money that we owe anyone outside of Exit 1 is dependent on their ability to produce the tax dollars to begin with.
Yeah.
The reason why we didn't have to pay is because
That's-
it is produced.
They didn't produce. Neither one of them, well, one of them produced, one of them did not meet the criteria of being open for 12 months. The other one did not produce. So, I mean, they only get, one of them gets about 31 or 32% of the collections, and the other one gets about 35%. We get the balance. So if they don't generate anything, we don't pay them.
That comes to about 30,000 one year, 50,000 the other per year.
Yeah, but if the person's gonna be paid $30,000, they're gonna be generating at least $85,000 that the city gets.
I understand
If they didn't generate anything, then there's nothing to disperse.
that. I'm just going to look at on this thing.
I know.
These are just the Board of Regent funds. Again, it's not counting property tax increase from taking either an undeveloped piece of property or a nasty piece of property and tearing it down and building something nice there. And also the local option sales tax that we get off of coffee and donuts and whatever else that gets sold down there at Dunkin' or Firehouse Subs. So, I'll stop. All right. We do have a motion and a second in regard to item B. Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. The item is approved. Item C, Resolution 2825. Again, Mr. Miller told us earlier that there really was no update, so there is no need for us to take action. We can simply leave it on the table. Okay, new business. Item 1084 on first reading.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, amending Title I, Chapter 4 regarding general administration. Council, my email to you all earlier on, I guess Sunday afternoon, based upon the notes I took at our last meeting, I indicated to you that it appeared to me that the items of consideration were whether it's going to be a position that actually is carved out in the city's organizational employment chart, or if it's just going to be a designation of a title. The second issue was if it, regardless of that issue, was it going to be an appointment by just the city manager or city manager with council approval? And then the last one, what would be the payment for the designation with regard to the additional duties and obligations that this title carried for the current full-time employee? I crafted the best of my ability the ordinance amendment based upon what I thought I heard from the council at the last meeting. One thing I want to make clear is Section A, Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3, and 4 right there, were certainly not set in stone. There was my understanding last time there was a discussion about allowing a period of protection or whatever you want to say, and my understanding was it's 90 days was what sort of came out of the discussion. All of this is still open for approval. The one I left blank purposely was the salary, because I don't remember hearing anything with regard to one way or another on the salary. So that's where we sit. And right now, you've got as a assistant city manager, it's just going to be a designation as part of a title given to a full-time employee. It would be determined by the city manager with council approval, or in the event of a vacancy and there is no assistant city manager, then the council would set that by appointment. There's a 90-day period following the appointment of a city manager in which the assistant city manager cannot be removed unless otherwise for potential act or something that he done for misconduct. And then the other understanding from the discussion was, in the event that the city manager, the assistant city manager is removed, or that designation is removed, it does not impact that full-time city employee's previous position. And so if it's whatever position the city manager held before the designation, that particular full-time employee would fall back into that. That job is always protected under the city's personnel rules and regulations. One last thing is I tracked the language of the city charter, and we've gone back to the title designation of assistant city manager, and so we have done away with the term deputy city manager.
I'd like to make a motion, whoever it is, we appoint $1,000 per pay period,
How much?
$1,000. I'm sorry, no pay period, per month. And I think the way I've got it picked here, that I think he's making about $60,000 a year.
I don't know. I'm not. Finance director's not here, so she would know.
Okay, why would you use 60,000, so that raise it somewhere around,
I thought it was 62 or whatever.
It's about 64,095, give or take.
64,095, 64,000.
You know that with deadly precision, don't you?
You know, that everybody should know what they get. That's what it is.
so if he's there 3, 4, 5 months, that's another $3,000, $5,000 his salary. And Mr. And it's been suggested by you, Mr. Miller, that we appoint Mr. Kitty Custer, and Kitty's got a pretty
That is
loaded
correct.
plate.
I'm sorry?
Kitty has a pretty loaded plate.
Kenny has he has a little plate, you're correct, but he also has some very good staff members that have been working with him too.
He sits in on all the planning commission things.
Right.
Tied up in the CFC board of directors, he sits in on, and I just, I have nothing against Kenny, but I'll make a motion, I'm gonna be $1,000 per month.
What do you think is a fair price for the salary?
Well, if you'll hold that question for just 1 minute. We do have a motion on the floor to fill in blank number 1 as, in the event the city manager position is vacant, the assistant city manager salary is $1,000 a month, $250 a week. It said per week here in the ordinance, so we'd have to break $1,000.
Well, we check that to per pay period, so that way it'd be
$1,000
per pay period.
$1,000 per pay period?
No, sir. The way it's worded here, it says per week.
I know.
Okay, so per pay period is every 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
So what figure
You're
is
going to pay $500 per pay period.
Okay, so we have a motion to fill in that blank with $500 per pay period. Is there a second to that motion?
Mayor, if I may ask, do we need to address the second item? Or are we gonna do those?
We can do it separately.
why don't we make sure clarification? If I understood Councilman Cagle, I think that is his motion, is that there's not a second part by Councilman Cagle.
Right.
Get clarification.
You're just trying to fill in blank number 1, correct?
I'm just trying to fill in his per pay period salary increase.
When there is not a city manager in place.
Whenever he is an acting city manager.
You're only addressing, as I understand this, Councilman Cagle, the salary. Are you addressing the person?
I'm addressing the salary.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't be in a position to make a recommendation unless I know the person is going to be in that position. Because some people, that I'm making a recommendation of Kenny Custer because I believe that Kenny Custer has the knowledge and the ability and qualifications at this time to handle this position. He knows what's going on. So I don't agree with what you're proposing, but I'm not going to make a recommendation as Councilwoman Helton asked me to if I don't know the person's you're going to put into that position. You put somebody else, if you're going to set the salary, you're going to turn around and put somebody else in there that I don't feel, that's,
Well, is that what's addressed here first, the salary?
I don't think we should look at
Well, that's what's addressed in the,
There are two blanks here that
yes, sir.
we need to fill in. One is when the city manager position is vacant. So as soon as Mr. Miller leaves, the assistant city manager salary would be, you're saying 500 per pay period. Then the second blank is in all other situations. So in other words, when the assistant city manager is not actually filling the role of city manager, the assistant city manager salary is,
Falls back to his original salary.
okay. You want to make that part of your motion as well, just to essentially answer the second blank by saying he would just maintain his normal salary.
Already.
but carry the assistant city manager designation.
Only at the time that he is being the assistant city manager. I'm not wanting to put him as assistant city manager 52 weeks out of the year. Just when that spot is vacant.
Okay. So he's making, his motion, as I understand it, is $500 per pay period when the spot is vacant,
$500 additional.
additional per pay period,
Not
$1,000.
additional.
Not additional.
So he's got to make at least his regular salary.
That's what I'm saying. When he is an acting assistant manager, he gets $500 per pay period. When he is not acting city manager, he gets his regular pay, just like the statement was made a minute ago, that he is protected, that when he's not city manager, or the new city manager comes in, he gets him, he falls back to his old job. His old job is secretary.
But while he is the acting city manager, would he get his old pay plus $500 per pay period?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Right? That's
The addition.
what you said, on top of the 64. Okay, because you said $5,000 if you work 5 months, that'd be $5,000 on top. 64.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
So, may I have a question?
No? By the letter of the law, no. All right, do we have a second? Going once, going twice? All right, the motion dies for lack of a second. Do we have another motion?
Can I read something here?
Yes, sir.
Back in June of 2016, I believe it was, the council approved $1,000 a month for Mr. Mike Williams to become the assistant city manager. That's all I'm trying to do here, is pass the same thing that's passed. I can't help it because our city manager didn't sign this thing back then. That makes this null and void. So we all passed this back then. Were you on the council? Was the council passed it?
These two were not.
Okay. The council passed this right here back in 2016. This is resolution number 2485 that Mr. Hyde refused to sign. Everybody else signed it. Mr. Williams served as city manager until Mr. Miller come on board. And if something happened then, Mr. Williams had to step down, so, but this was passed back then, so that's where I'm getting my figures, so we passed this back then, 2 years ago, so.
Just as a reminder, I vehemently opposed Mr. Hyatt leaving. I wanted him to stay. And the numbers on the council at that time were such that it was clear he was not going to get an extension. His contract was not going to be renewed. And so we had to have someone. And so a motion was made and was seconded to pay this amount to Mike Williams. And yes, the council agreed to do it. I don't think I've spoken publicly about this, ever. And I've got 2 meetings left. God, I think it's disgraceful the way we had treated city managers in the past. Absolutely. Council, somehow, as a whole, at least a majority, has decided to run off several people who ably filled this spot. And the last one was because he was not going to get his contract renewed because he did not agree to fire someone. That's it. That's all there is to it. There was an individual that the majority of the council wanted gone, and Mr. Hyatt wouldn't do it. Yeah, that's, I want the best for this city. The best will never happen to us if we don't stop playing the petty games of you're going to do what I say you're going to do, or I've got enough votes to get rid of you. It's garbage. And we fall back into that cycle. Honestly, I praise God that Mr. Miller has been able to stay as long as he has, and that he's leaving of his own accord, and that we haven't run him off. Andrew Hyde resigned and left here. He didn't resign because he wanted to. I guarantee you that. You'll call him up and ask him. So, yes, in 2016, the council agreed to pay Mike Williams $1,000 a month as acting city manager. I'm not sure we had a whole lot of choices. So, since we're just letting it roll, I would like to see this position be a permanent position. my humble opinion.
Mayor, may I? Just-
Yes, sir.
So this is what I was gonna ask earlier. So I understand, Mr. Cagle, that what your motion you made. I personally would like to see someone in that assistant city manager title for the majority of the time. We never know when, we may have a city manager become ill or he go out of town on emergency and be appointing and designating and voting for this can be cumbersome and maybe have some special call meetings. If I read this ordinance correct, it has to be approved by the council. So I'd prefer to have a assistant city manager title affixed to the current employee and increase that salary of that employee. That's my opinion. So that there is no misstep at any point in time that the city manager position is vacated, whether illness, vacation, sudden death like Ms. Quarles had to go to out of town. It's my opinion. And
But if we appoint him, can he relieve, the city manager relieve him? Instead of him being a designated.
By the charter, you only have the authority to appoint a city manager. You do not have the authority to appoint an
Charter
assistant
says
city
you
manager.
have the right to appoint.
If we had an assistant city manager position in the organization, it would be appointed by the city manager, me,
but does this?
by the charter.
This ordinance also states that it has to be approved by majority of city council.
Right, but this is because it's just a title.
This is
not
a title.
That's
This is
what
a title.
I think Mr. Miller
Right.
made the distinction, is that it is, and that's why it doesn't fall under the personnel rules and regulations, the title, the designation of it. And I think that's what Mr. Miller's saying is, under the city charter, there's only two people that the city council can appoint, city attorney and city manager, that's it. Everything else falls under the city manager. If we made this a position, then under the charter, the city manager would make that appointment as to who the assistant city manager would be. And you all could carve out that position if you so chose, and we can modify what was drafted in preparation for this meeting. As I understood the discussion 2 weeks ago, it was going in the direction of keep it as a designation or just a title, which would allow the city council to have some ability to approve. And as I understood it, the city manager would make a recommendation, the city council would approve that assistant city manager title to be placed upon a current full-time city employee. And in the event the city manager did not make that appointment or that recommendation, city council would then just be able to make that appointment, provided that the city manager position was vacant at that time.
I'll tell you, I think it ought to be, I think the assistant city manager position should be an actual position and not just a title. And here's my reasoning. We've had multiple deputy city managers step in. And once again, I'm just gonna tell it like it is. Eddie Phillips and Frida Wheeler, as good of people as you will find on this earth. And they came in and they went out. Because, again, they wouldn't do bidding of a majority of the council. So Eddie retired, and then Frida retired not too awful long after. It is a revolving door. We create the title, and we'll hang it on the next person. And when they don't do what the council wants, that person will be replaced with the next person. I've seen it over and over. Been here for 10 years, folks. I'm tired of
It
it.
almost seems like the city manager position should be temporary. And then
Almost.
position is permanent.
Almost. How many times did Eddie fill in as deputy city manager or acting city manager? 5 times, 6 times? Council, we can do whatever you all want to do. I can see this ending, it's clear. As I can see anything. That man will become assistant city manager in title only. And I'll be surprised if he's in the same position a year from now. So,
I'm not willing to do anything to possibly jeopardize the employees.
Sir? Can I ask one other question?
no, sir, unfortunately, at this point, the citizens can't.
I wasn't gonna do that, I was just gonna tell you that as a taxpayer, I can't hear what y'all are saying. Will you speak it up? That's all I ask.
Amen.
We will do that. I don't want to be yelling into the microphone, but is there a way to adjust the volume
No, did you?
at the board?
You just have to make sure that you're speaking into the microphone and not to the side of the microphone.
You can hear it now.
My apologies. What's that? All right. So, again, if there's a motion that someone would like to make, feel free.
Maybe still a question.
Yes, sir.
I understand, I'm just at this point not comfortable creating another layer of management expense. I understand your concerns about the title being placed on an employee, and then that employee lose that title or lose their position. I would hope that wouldn't happen, but we have other, we need additional firemen, additional policemen. I just personally, I think we need additional policemen and firemen, then we need another layer of management at this point in time. That's why I think the assistant city manager title is how I would prefer to go and increase the salary for that title appointment. I think we tried to put provision in for that person not to be removed from that title in section 2, is that correct, Mr. Litcher? Section 1?
That's correct, yes.
And 2?
For 90 days.
90 days.
Well, that's just 90 days, I understand. So I'll make a motion that we assign a assistant city manager title designated by the city manager and approved by the majority vote as it states in the ordinance. In the event, I would go with 2. In all situations, the assistant city manager's salary should be $85,000 per year. So they would actually be assistant city manager title, and then therefore should be paid more than any of the other employees in the city, slightly, but not as much as the city manager currently.
It's gonna be more than 5,000 a year, and the audit chief just made more than
No, I don't, I think there's 75,000,
75,000,
is that the chief?
somewhere around there.
Yes.
that. So how much you want to raise it? I thought you said 5,000.
He wants to raise, his motion was to pay 85,000.
Oh,
64 to 85,000.
And be the assistant city manager. So then there's no designation at any point in time. You automatically assume the responsibilities when the city manager is
Thank you.
vacant. It would also ensure some continuity with knowing who is going to be the backup at any point in time. And assist in day-to-day operations with the city manager. And hopefully could spawn that person becoming the true city manager at some point in time.
Okay. Mr. Litchfield, is that motion acceptable?
Yeah, to make sure I understand it, what he's saying with the council, with saying is basically, it's an $85,000, just a title payment. He's really getting rid of 1 and 2, whether it's day-to-day, temporary absence, or a vacant, it's an $85,000 annual. Up to, in other words, the position will pay that employee the $85,000. I assume he's backing out whatever that employee already makes. Is that right? Or is that in the
Yes. No.
So if, use easy math, if it's a $50,000 that the current full-time employee makes, then what Councilman Williams is saying, that person would take the salary up to 85, so you get an increase of 35,000.
You get
It's
an
not
increase
quite
of
that.
$807.69 a bed.
He's also has a responsibility.
Yes, absolutely, and it's gonna have to put the time in, he knows that.
Absolutely. Has a responsibility 24/7.
If I understand Councilman Williams, you're not making a distinction whether the position is vacant, where he's filling both positions of whatever the current full-time employee plus the position of the city manager, you're making it straight across the board 85.
Yes, sir.
Then if the new city manager comes in 90 days later, decides that he don't want who we elect today, then he falls back to his general 64,000 a year. Correct.
Except for the way that it's written right now is that city manager that would get appointed after the 90 days, if he didn't want to keep the current assistant city manager, would then make a recommendation to the city council, or he'd make an appointment, but that appointment has to be approved by the city council.
So there's your security.
So that'll actually be the only employee the city manager won't have control over, the hiring and firing.
Well, he would be able to remove it, but to be able to find another assistant city manager, he's got to go through an approval process.
He has to, to remove it, don't he have to bring it to us to remove it?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
We just have to agree to that you designate.
Right.
So essentially, it does not guarantee that we have an assistant city manager at all.
That's right. That's what
So the next city manager can come in after 90 days and say, I don't want you as the assistant city manager. He gets knocked back down to where he was, and we could drift without an assistant city manager. There's no requirement that we have one.
I don't want to keep going around and around and around with this stuff. Fix it.
One way to modify that or fix that is just say that the removal shall be subject to council approval. Or
Removal of what?
removal of the designation
Of the designation city manager?
assistant city manager.
Yeah, but he's acting in the city manager role. If that position is vacant, is he in the city manager role?
He is serving he is
In the role
filling
of city manager?
he's filling the duties of that city manager.
Okay. I think you've got a concern regarding the charter on that. The charter's pretty specific.
I disagree in the sense if we're designated as a title only, the assistant city manager is designated by a city manager and approved by the majority vote of the council. You could then say the title cannot be removed except without council approval, since it's only a title and not a position. That's one way to sort of try to create some continuity, provided that you don't get what
So when
Mayor Lambert was saying, which is you get members in here that start hijacking that position.
I grew a couple inches. I think I see what you're trying to say is that the charter.
what I don't want to happen is have the assistant city manager position stay. I just don't want to see the council encroaching into an assistant city manager position where the charter says there's only 2 people that the council has to appoint. Can't make an ordinance change the charter. Only these people out here can do that. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want the city manager to say, I like the assistant city manager, but the council says, get rid of him. We have a say. That can't happen.
You could work that in, then the
I just don't, I don't think it's right to just go with the charter says. The people are the vehicle that adopted this form of government. They adopted what they wanted, and it's up to the people to make that change. We can't make that change up here. We can put it before the voters, but that's not going to happen for another 2 years. I just don't want to I want to make sure that if you have the assistant city manager position, he's the assistant city manager, you hire a city manager, and then the council says, well, we appointed that. We agree with that assistant city manager position. We want him out. I don't think the council should have that. Here, you're saying initially that the city manager will make the appointment with the consensus of the city council.
that's what
I don't want to see the city council being able to come back 90 or 120 days from now, and you have a city manager, and for some reason, whatever the city manager, you have an assistant city manager in that position. The council says he's no longer in that position, and the city manager doesn't have a say.
No, okay, and in this case, it's been drafted, or at least the intent was, and we can clarify this, he can't be removed except by the city manager.
Well, I think that needs to be put in there, because, what our intent here is today. I mean, this may be interpreted different in 4 months when you talk about a different council up here.
The flip side of that is, the city manager may want to remove the designation of the title, and the council may not want to. And that's sort of the flip side, and then you all can craft it how you want. I'm just pointing that out, is I agree with Mr. Miller in the sense of if you want the city manager, he should not be forced to remove somebody that he doesn't want to remove.
Correct.
And the flip side is, if the city manager wants to remove, does this council want to have the ability to?
But that would be even today. If the council, if we did have an assistant city manager position today, the city manager has a right to send him off or her off without the council's approval.
And it just goes back to what Councilwoman Helms was saying, is the continuity of it. If you're trying to establish continuity, you've got to rub here. There's a dichotomy is either having the city manager have full control, you just don't know what that city manager may do when he comes in after 90 days. I mean, the difficulty is trying to set a one-size-fits-all type ordinance to give this protection. Because you've got two bodies here that may be at odds with each other.
Well, you were told during the interview process that when you're interviewing and hiring a city manager, you would ensure that there's continuity and they're willing to work with the assistant city manager. I don't, we can sit here and debate all night. In 4 months, another council can change this ordinance completely. So we're not setting an ordinance that will be forever. It can be changed anyway. And I think that we need to address this quickly. I'm not asking just to vote for anything, but I think that we need to try to parse out a assistant city manager title or, and you know this, or position prior to him leaving, Mr. Miller. Put a motion together for what I believe, and we can, anyone agrees or not. That's what we have fine for tonight.
So the motion is, someone,
Going with the assistant city manager title to be designated by the city manager and concurred on by the city council at a salary increase of $64,000 to $85,000, which works out to be $807 a pay more than what he's making now.
What? Technically, yes. Take the current position out of it and just state that it's $85,000 because.
I'm making the designation because
yes, exactly.
It's,
Understand.
it goes against what
Was there a clarification on the removal of that assistant city manager? Did you all want to include a clarification that it can only be removed by the city manager?
I would strongly recommend that language be in here.
I'll amend it accordingly.
okay, is there a second to the motion?
I agree with the motion, I just think the salary's too high.
I don't think the salary's high enough, that's my opinion.
Too high, you don't have to.
I know. I said in my opinion. If you're putting a person in to do the job, and he's gonna put the hours in, he's been working under my wing for the past year, at least, maybe year and a half. I just feel that he should be compensated accordingly.
I would like to know.
Well, if I may.
Again, we're getting in that territory where a motion is on the floor. So we need a second for discussion purposes, or the motion will die for lack of consent.
I'll second it with discussion.
Okay, we have a second.
I think it's a little low for our responsibility.
So, I understand, Councilman, sorry. But this is not he's not assuming the city manager position 24/7 and 365, it's only in the vacancy. I know that he's going to be assisting, that's the title, and that's why I came up with the money. But and during vacancy and absences, he would be doing full city manager duties. But that is always temporary until a new city manager is hired, and then he is assisting. So that's why I came up with that figure. I understand you think that it's too low, or if you too low, just in the middle.
Well, when I vacate this position, the position is vacated, somebody's got to assume that position and run the day-to-days. You got to be 24/7. To hire, as I let the council know a week ago, received about 49 or 50 resumes for the position of city manager. Probably have a good dozen plus that show good promise, that have good qualifications. But to go through that whole process, I would certainly recommend and see the council doing that. Wait until the new council comes on board. Let them take a look at it and go through. But you're probably talking about a 3 to 4 month minimum period of time to go through this process adequately. Unless you run upon a city manager that's out of work and wants to start right away. Usually managers will give about a month time to finish up where they're coming from to assume the new position they're going to take. So you may check in 3 or 4 months. What I'm looking at, that's 3 or 4 months that this gentleman, Mr. Custer, is going to be working 24/7. And I think in that capacity, he needs to be compensated accordingly.
And for a point of clarity, if a new city manager comes in and removes Mr. Custer in 90 days, he reverts back to his old rate of pay? That's a trapdoor. Right? We need someone to step into the role. I wouldn't do it. If it was me, I wouldn't do it. I'm not gonna tell you, Mr. Custer, to do anything I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do this. To go from 85,000 to 64,000, just like that? Nope, we'll do it. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. I will tell you now, I'm not going to be a hindrance to the process. I don't agree with it, so I'm not going to vote for it, but I'm not going to vote against it either. So,
We even know if Kenny wants this. Yeah. How do you feel about this, Kenny?
I was wondering if we was going to get to that. So, to be honest with you, this is something Mr. Miller and I have discussed over the last 2 years. As many of you know, I started here giving my time away to the city as a volunteer some 18, 19 years ago. Had ample opportunities to leave, but I've been here a long time, and I like it. I enjoy it. Is it easy? Absolutely not. But each part of my career that I've been in, it's been a different challenge. Nobody ever would have thought that I would have left the department that I started in to come do what I'm doing now. But there's that hope that we can all be better. So, in my mind, I feel like that I personally have an obligation to the 21,000 people that live here to make sure that in the absence of Mr. Miller, who's done a great job, that we do what we're supposed to do and that we run efficient and effective government and as well as we possibly can. Do I worry about that from my personal standpoint? I do. I've seen what's happened to pretty much everybody that's been here. I've been through 11 in 18 years. 11 city managers and interim city manager, or deputy, whatever you want to call them. So that is a concern, obviously. But I've got a lot of ties to the community. I think we've came a long way. I don't think we're exactly where we need to be. So I'm still considering the option. I told Mr. Miller, and I'll be happy to share it with you, I was offered a position with the number 2 person for the state fire marshal's office 2 weeks before he let me know that he was retiring. I declined the offer. I was very appreciative of it. It would have been a great advancement choice for me. But I'm just not quite done here yet. I mean, I started here. This is where I want to retire from. Moving up into this position could change that process pretty rapidly, as we've seen in the past. But I think there's a lot of people sitting out here that want to make sure that we continue to go in the right direction, and that whoever's sitting in that seat after me, that they do what's best for 21,000 people, for everybody. So that's all I can say this time. So I will definitely consider it whenever we all figure out what the compensation package is going to be. Thank you.
Well said. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any comments or questions? Just for the city recorder. Yes.
Can you redo that? Can you repeat what?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna attempt it. I'm gonna let Mr. Miller or Mr. Williams do that.
So the motion is to assign a assistant city manager title with the compensation being $85,000 per year. And we amended it to allow only the city manager to remove.
I had that written in my notes.
Yes.
I thought I heard Mayor Lambert indicate, going back to the issue on the continuity, so then I scratched it out, but then I clarified, are you all wanting it to only be removable by the city manager? And I haven't heard one way or the other yet. I think if I heard Mayor Lambert was potentially giving it to the whim of one guy to come in and yank that away, if I understood that right. But I have written my notes back, but currently, as it's written, the motion included removal by the city manager only.
May I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I withdraw my second? Because I'm not happy with the money.
You could,
Yes, ma'am.
even with your second, you can make a motion to amend.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend to 95,000.
What?
95,000.
Okay, so there is a motion to amend to make the pay $95,000. Is there a second to the motion? Going once? Going twice? The motion to amend dies for lack of a second. Would you like to withdraw your second now? It's completely up to you. I'm just asking the question.
I'll withdraw, but I'm not going to second the motion for
Okay. So the second has been withdrawn. Is there a second to Mr. Williams' motion? The original motion? Motion dies for lack of a second.
I'd like to postpone discussion on this and continue with the rest of the agenda for tonight.
That is probably a good suggestion. Mr. City Attorney, do we need to vote to do that?
Well, this is on new business.
Postpone it and come back at the end?
Well, let's get official. If I understood it, you want to come back and address it at the end of this meeting?
Potentially, or do you want to put it off?
Put it off and let us all come back with a fresh mind on salary. Because that's the deadline. You know, I think we're offering too much, she thinks we're not offering enough, and we couldn't get second either way, so, because I'm open for, I just like to go with, because the gentleman never did actually answer our question that was asked, would he take the job? He said he was open for discussion on the salary range. Well, maybe we need to define the salary range, what we're voting today, define the salary range. So, if we even have to call a special meeting between now and the next one to discuss it. Because this is going to be a
Full on here. I think everybody should be here.
Well, yeah, we're missing one tonight, so.
I don't think, are we gonna have a full body on the 26th?
Fifth? No.
And to answer the question, if no action is taken on this, then it essentially removes off new business and it would have to go on another agenda item we put back as new business for the next one. My recommendation, if there's an intent to want to still consider it, table it, and then you can either call a special call meeting, remove from the table, take action. But I would not recommend just taking no action, because then it falls off for lack of any action, and it would have to go on a 6 o'clock agenda.
Make a motion to table it.
We have a motion to table, do we have a second?
Second.
There's a second to table. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Item is tabled. Item B, Resolution 2859.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to appoint 2 members to the East Ridge Beer Board.
Mr. Mayor, I spoke to Charles Snyder, he said he'd be more than glad to be reinstated back to.
Okay. I have not heard from Mr. Sewell. I don't know. Is he? I have not heard definitively what he wants to do.
I don't know.
Okay. Mr. Miller has not. So for right now, let's have a motion to approve Mr. Cagle's appointment. And then we can get Mr. Sewell's next time. So is there a motion to approve Charlie Snyder?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. That item is approved. Item C, Resolution 2860.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, approving a financial incentive package in the amount of $7,472,309 for Southern Honda Power Sports through the Board Region Tourism Development District Act.
Okay. All right, want to make a preface on that. That's $7,472,390 Southern Honda Power Sports based on the projected Board of Regents sales tax dollars generated by their sales over a 22-year period. If they don't generate that, they're not getting it. To start off, the city has been working for the past several years. I know Brett Lambert was involved in this when I first started here, so we've been talking about this for a while. In regard to relocating Southern Honda Power Sports to the city of East Ridge, they would be constructing a new dealership at the location of 6750 Ringo Road. That would be the large portion of the vacant land to the north, to the south and to the west of the existing Community Baptist Church at the corner of Shrubs and Ringo Road. They would be selling motorcycles, four-wheelers, trikes, generators, apparel, anything that has Honda on it, they would sell it. Based on their financials that they have submitted, if you look at their spreadsheet, and you count over six columns from the right, you'll see total taxable sales. That's the total taxable sales on sale, on services, on their wind rider sales, coming up over a period of 22 years, $243,311,530. That's their projected taxable sales. Taking that amount and multiplying that by 4.125 cents, because that is the dollars that would be funded back to the city of East Ridge, based on the sales that occurred, are projected. If they make more, if they get more, then it would be more dollars. If they make less, it would be less dollars. The total amount based on their projected $243 million, going to generate Board of Regents sales tax dollars in the neighborhood of $10,036,601. How we have prepared a split on that, the financial assistance package, is that Southern Honda Power Sports would receive 90% of that amount collected for the first 6 years, the city 10. Next 6 years, 80% they would receive, the city 20. The next 6 years, they would receive 70%, the city would receive 30. The last 4 years, Southern Honda Power Sports would receive 60%, the city would receive 40. So based on the projected sales, and based on the total amount of Board of Regents sales tax that would be derived from these projected sales, Southern Honda Power Sports would receive $7.472 million over that 22-year period. The city of East Ridge would receive 2.564%. Basically, that comes out to a 75-25 split. That's the Board of Regents. On a countywide sales tax, we have a 2.50 countywide sales tax. 1.125 goes to the city, 1.125 goes to the county. Looking at the total projected taxable sales, $243 million. That's going to generate a countywide sales tax over a 22-year period of $2,737,255 for the city of East Ridge. City property tax, taking their land and their building, assessed value, times the millage rate. That dealership will generate $31,312 per year in property sales tax. Right now, we get zero, nothing. You don't get anything from the church. It's a nonprofit. They don't pay property taxes. Over a 20-year period, you're talking $626,240. So a summary of what the city would receive based on the projected sales. Board of Regents sales tax distribution, $2,564,000.
Countywide tax, $2,737,000. Property tax, $626,240. The total over a 22-year period, based on projected, be $5,927,787. The city would generate in 22 years. Right now, we get zero. There would be also other economies of scale that would be generated from this business. They're one of the largest dealerships in the nation, at least in this part of the country. We've got people coming all the way from the West Coast to Exit 1 to buy a motorcycle. And we'll be staying in our hotels, eating at our restaurants. So we do get some economies of scale in that. It also brings some good development to the city down on our eastern end and be a welcome addition to the city of East Ridge. We do have Doug Hoyt, who is Chief Financial Officer, present. Mr. Hoyt, do you have any items that you would like to add to what I've added, what I've said? This was presented to the Industrial Development Board on Tuesday at 5, and they approved it, unanimously approved it. So it's before you tonight for your approval. It'll retain your approval, and it goes back to the IDB, Industrial Development Board, generate a development agreement, and this goes into play. You have anything you want to say? You brought up some good points the other night. Just want to give you that opportunity.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for considering. We've been doing this for about 14 years. We're the largest in the world. Honda is a great brand. We're a family-run operation. We care about the community. Mr. Kelly is our owner. He's been involved in a lot of council and boards across the area. We feel like we would be a great addition to the city. We think the city is a great addition to us right now. About 70% of our customers are not local. They come from all over the country. And a lot of people don't even know we're here because we're over off of Workman Road in the middle of nowhere, a giant warehouse, and we just don't really get that kind of local traction. We feel we get a better local traction from being in that area, which would increase local sales, which would increase sales tax. And we feel like it's a win for us. Honda is very supportive of it. Our Subaru store is an eco-friendly store. Solar panels on the roof, recycle rainwater. We're planning to do the same thing with Honda. To produce a stellar facility with eco-friendly outlook. And Honda has really embraced this idea and trying to help us get this thing done.
Well, I understand this, that there is no cap on this.
No, sir.
No cap, everybody they sell, we get 10, they get 90 for the first 6.
Yes, sir.
It's all prorated down like that.
Yes, sir.
There's not gonna be no surprises where we have to build roads or
No.
fences and shrubs.
Well, the only thing I can say is that portion of Scruggs Road, seriously, located in East Ridge, does need resurfaced.
Amen.
It does need resurfaced. I'm only holding off on it because we've got that